The police are wielding batons, but are they striking those who robbed their pensions with a watering down of the currency? No, they're hitting those who protest the actions of the Federal Reserve and the thieves on Wall Street. In Oakland, California, police shot a Marine, Scott Olsen, in the head, fracturing his skull and almost killed him. They pepper sprayed an 84-year-old woman in the face and nearly killed her. They kicked a pregnant woman in the stomach and killed her baby. Cops act like hoodlums and they can't understand why we don't love them. It shows you how chicken shit they are, picking on pregnant women and old ladies rather than virile young men who just might whip their asses. As inflation drives up the prices of everything, do cops think that their pension is going to be magically increased to cover prices which have tripled over a period of just 2 years? When a fiat currency dies, the inflation rate reaches 20% per month. All fiat currencies die. The average lifespan is just 28 years, and we're way past that. When you remove the backing of a currency with precious metals, it goes fiat, and the lifespan is limited. So if your pension is tied to a fiat currency, you don't have a pension. All you have is a badge, a baton, and a bad attitude. Wait until you retire and they take the badge and the baton away from your ass. All you'll have left is a bad attitude. Try to live on that. You'll be shacking with other elderlies just to survive. With your pension check, you'll have 2 choices after paying rent, food or medicine, because you won't be able to afford both. Medicare is broke and they're going to cut benefits, so when you get sick, you're on your own, badge boy. I hope you will reflect back on the days when you pepper sprayed that old lady and kicked the pregnant woman in the stomach and ask yourself if you're in hell for your sins. You should have been on the side of the people and stopped the gangsters in suits on Wall Street. Remember, gangsters are always the ones in the expensive suits. They make you poor by robbing your pension funds, watering down the currency, and causing food prices to skyrocket. Wait until you're paying $20 for a loaf of bread and you can only afford one. But you will have to skip this pill or that one in order to afford the loaf of bread. We protested peacefully and you wielded the baton at us, and you pepper sprayed us, you arrested us, and your orders came from the mafia above you. When you can't afford bread, maybe you can eat crackers and peanut butter, badge boy. Do you think that government, which is killing Americans who have not been charged with any crime, will allow you to live if you are no longer working and paying the IRS? They have direct access to your veins as a result of the healthcare takeover law, and they will decide who lives and dies. Read the healthcare bill. They put that 2,700-page bill before Congress and gave them 15 minutes to read it before the vote. The traitors in Congress passed it after dirty backroom deals were made, and we were all sold out. 70% of us opposed the bill then, and today 82% of us oppose it. I guess some of those who thought it was a good idea have reconsidered, and they realize that government can't be trusted with direct access to our veins. They might kill us off when we become a burden on the wealth-generating system. What do they do with sick farm animals? They put them down. I want you to think about that as you approach retirement, and remember who you hit with the baton, and who you kicked in the stomach, and who you sprayed in the face. Think about that 84-year-old woman who was brutalized by police. She knew what was happening and she protested, and you guys pepper sprayed her. You have no excuse for your behavior. Just following orders is what the Nazis proclaimed, and they were hanged. You'll get an injection from government which causes a heart attack, and nobody will be suspicious. Nobody will investigate your murder. Nobody will care about a retired cop who kicked the bucket. That's the end of your pension and the end of your Medicare, and government saves money by eliminating you. It's a health care package. Some call it Obamacare, but it's anything but care. It's thinning the herd, if you want to know the truth. You are no longer needed. It was in the bill right from the start. Read it. While government is taking care of your health, the Federal Reserve is taking care of your money. What the Federal Reserve is doing is robbing all of us of any hope for a secure retirement, stable prices, and survival in America in the near future for those on fixed incomes. Cops aren't smart enough to recognize the deeds and see ahead to the effects Federal Reserve actions will have on prices. Cops will have to move to a third world country to be able to survive on their pensions, and maybe that was government's plan. In a third world country, your Medicare will be a witch doctor. How do you like that, badge boy? If you live abroad, you don't get old age benefits like Medicare. Why didn't you use your batons on the thieves on Wall Street and the Federal Reserve? Were you afraid of the mafia? Or are cops part of it, just a lower rank? Cops don't protect us, they work for the mafia. Organized criminals are mafia in my book, and cops are part of the crime syndicate. They commit crimes against us every day, and it's getting worse. Cops are hired thugs. They are goons for the mafia. If you tell a cop he's a goon, he's deeply offended, but it's the truth. Cops are paid by us, but these self-proclaimed heroes are useless to the people that they're paid to protect. They are part of the people in that their own pensions have been raided by the thieves on Wall Street, so why aren't they on our side? Can they think? What clogged their cortex? Cops should be on our side, aligned against our common enemy, but cops take their orders from their commissioner, and he's part of the crime syndicate. He also has a pension, and he's also going to have to shack up to survive. The mayor is another mob boss. He's one of the local kingpins of the mafia. He should be brought down by exposure to the truth. Virtually all the political leaders are in on the crime syndicate. We must see this group for what it is. They don't want us filming them because they know they are criminals, and the video is proof of their illegal acts. They don't want you to catch them shooting Scott Olsen in the head or kicking a pregnant woman in the stomach, so they call filming wiretapping. Why is it necessary to stretch the truth? Because the world has become very corrupt. Peaceful protest has been criminalized, and using a camera is now a crime. Filming is not wiretapping, but beating peaceful protesters is abuse of power by a notorious and widespread gang of thieves and thugs who are organized in a manner no different than Al Capone's gang or any other crime syndicate. They conspire to commit crimes against us, and if you look at the rackets, they are identical to those of any other mafia. Drug, money laundering, beatings, murder, intimidation. We've seen all this before. The gangsters wearing expensive suits. This is the society that we live in. It's like the 1930s when the gangs ruled. How is the police department any different than the mafia we all know too well? Gangsters wore expensive suits. Those on Wall Street wear expensive suits. Gangsters hire thugs and goons. The police are hired thugs and goons. The only difference is that today the people are paying their goons, so there was an improvement for the mobsters. Life is sweet. Gangsters use their goons to intimidate citizens. Wall Street gangsters use their police to intimidate citizens. The Wall Street gangsters in suits are so well organized that they have the court system working for them too. Arrests are just a way of saying that the entire legal system is part of the mafia and the citizens don't have a chance. If there is no law on the books to give any cop the authority to arrest someone, taking them into custody is false imprisonment, and the cops should be personally liable for this crime. When 700 of them were crossing a bridge and were blocked from leaving in either direction, this is a second case of false imprisonment. There was no reason to interfere with these people who were merely exercising their constitutional right to protest government's illegal activities like murdering American citizens without due process of law. We need a radical change in some arrests of the Wall Street crooks and a complete overhaul of the entire government, and that's why people are in the streets protesting. It's a peaceful revolt today, but the revolution could turn violent at any time. Some of the police are on our side, but most are not defecting from their mobster associations for fear of getting killed by fellow cops. They don't approve of arresting peaceful protesters, but they are cowards and they won't talk about it publicly for fear of retaliation from higher-ups in the crime syndicate. When thousands of people are in the street, that's revolution. Open your eyes and look at it for what it really is, a revolution in America. The people are saying, we don't like what's going on, and we are here to peacefully protest it at first, but if we don't get change, we could become violent, because we have the numbers, and we are determined to get change. We, the people, have had enough, and we're going to get change one way or another. Peaceful change is better for everyone, but if it turns violent, we will have you crooks outnumbered 200 to 1, and we think many police will turn their weapons on crooks when push comes to shove. Change is needed, and we aren't being represented by our representatives. The corruption runs all the way to the White House and beyond. The orders are coming down from the chieftains in this mafia. They tell the puppet president what they want, and he calls the governors. The governors call the mayors, and a crackdown of peaceful protesters is carried out by the crime families, and this doesn't help. Putting down our revolt does not solve the systemic problem, and many in the military know it. Some peaceful protesters get kicked in the stomach, and some are shot in the head like Scott Olsen. Many others are punched in the face by the goons in the police department who work for the mafia and are part of the crime syndicate. The terrorist attacks that you thought were committed by individuals were not. Dig deeply, as so many have done, and you will find government's fingerprints all over these so-called terrorist events. I'm talking about Oklahoma City bombing, the murder of JFK, and Abraham Lincoln. There was a fake Cold War with Russia for the benefit of defense contractors. Our own government ran a terror campaign to control us and keep us in fear. All through the 1960s, they played this sound to remind us of the fake threat. They have had you living in fear for decades, and you didn't even know what they were doing to you. They have you swimming in a sea of propaganda, lies, and deceptions, false flag terrorist events like 9/11 and others, in which our government destroyed our buildings on our soil, killed our people, and attempted to blame it on others. But some of us figured it out, and we protested, and you called us conspiracy theorists and chose to accept the government's conspiracy theory instead. A guy working from a cave in Afghanistan who was terminally ill and undergoing kidney dialysis at the time did not plant explosives in 3 buildings in New York. The controlled demolition was not done by 19 hijackers, and nobody with an Arab name boarded those 4 planes, not one. The government's conspiracy theory is full of holes and makes no sense at all. 5 of the alleged hijackers are still alive today, so how could they have been on those planes? One of the 19 died a year before 9/11, so how could he have been one of the hijackers? This was sloppy work by the CIA. You've been had. You fell for the lies and the propaganda. It was a conspiracy, and those of us who know the truth are conspiracy theorists, and one day you will also know the truth. The flight recorders were found. They are always found. Always. But you're never going to hear them because they reveal too much about the conspiracy to murder our citizens and take away our freedoms with the Patriot Act. The Department of Homeland Security spends $75 billion a year for what? The illusion is that they are protecting us from terrorists. What terrorists? Do you mean those in government? Are you talking about the CIA? There was a CIA asset who used the name Tim Osman. His real name was Osama bin Laden. Yes, he was a CIA asset. He did many business deals with the Bushes and the Queen of England. Up until 2001, Osama bin Laden was very close to the Bush family. So was the family of John Hinckley. John Hinckley attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan in 1981 when George Bush Sr. was vice president. Did George Bush Sr. want to become president? Was he involved in the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan? Do you think George Bush Sr. knew how to organize assassinations as the head of the CIA? Maybe you never heard of Andy Perro or the MK Ultra program. It was a mind control program, like the Manchurian Candidate. Andy Perro reports that he was a trained assassin with a very accurate shot, and they had him do many hits, then programmed him to forget, but he remembers, and he's talking about his MK Ultra experience. This testimony establishes that our government is in the assassination business, and it's not far-fetched that George Bush Sr. was directly involved with the attempt to assassinate Ronald Reagan in 1981. There is a question that was never answered. Occupy Wall Street. Big changes are coming soon. The police are wielding batons, but are they striking those who robbed their pensions with a watering down of the currency? No, they're hitting those who protest the actions of the Federal Reserve and the thieves on Wall Street. In Oakland, California, police shot a Marine, Scott Olsen, in the head, fracturing his skull and almost killed him. They pepper sprayed an 84-year-old woman in the face and nearly killed her. They kicked a pregnant woman in the stomach and killed her baby. Cops act like hoodlums and they can't understand why we don't love them. It shows you how chicken shit they are, picking on pregnant women and old ladies rather than virile young men who just might whip their asses. As inflation drives up the prices of everything, do cops think that their pension is going to be magically increased to cover prices which have tripled over a period of just 2 years? When a fiat currency dies, the inflation rate reaches 20% per month. All fiat currencies die. The average lifespan is just 28 years, and we're way past that. When you remove the backing of a currency with precious metals, it goes fiat, and the lifespan is limited. So if your pension is tied to a fiat currency, you don't have a pension. All you have is a badge, a baton, and a bad attitude. Wait until you retire and they take the badge and the baton away from your ass. All you'll have left is a bad attitude. Try to live on that. You'll be shacking with other elderlies just to survive. With your pension check, you'll have 2 choices after paying rent, food or medicine, because you won't be able to afford both. Medicare is broke, and they're going to cut benefits, so when you get sick, you're on your own, badge boy. I hope you will reflect back on the days when you pepper sprayed that old lady and kicked the pregnant woman in the stomach and ask yourself if you're in hell for your sins. You should have been on the side of the people and stopped the gangsters in suits on Wall Street. Remember, gangsters are always the ones in the expensive suits. They make you poor by